Hello everyone, today there's another video on the topic of making decisions. Last year, I already made a video on this topic, but it was more general. About the issue of how it feels to be unable to make a decision. And I thought I would specify it a bit more now and have put together a nice list of 10 for you. With 10 questions you can ask yourself when it comes to making a decision. Welcome to Soul Tapping. Today, we're revisiting the topic. Making decisions. For many people, especially those in a depressive phase, it can be particularly difficult to make decisions. The thing is, not making a decision is also a decision, which can sometimes make you even more unhappy. Not making decisions is related to procrastination. And that drains even more of your energy. And if you feel the same way, then I have a little help for you today to make it easier for you to make decisions. And so it doesn't take as much effort, namely 10 questions to 8 decision making. We need to differentiate a little, of course. There are different kinds of decisions. For example, there are big decisions, like whether I should marry this partner or not. Should I break up with them again or not? Should I buy this house or should I sell it again? Should I take this job? Should I quit again? And so on. So, the big decisions that also have an impact on your future. Or it can also be in the health sector, for example, should I have surgery or not? Should I get vaccinated or not? And things like that. And then, of course, there are the smaller, less important decisions. It's always good to start practicing with those when they don't have significant impacts on your future. For example, should I wear the red or the blue blouse today? Should I spread strawberry or cherry jam on my roll? And so on. Or in my case, in the other video it was, should I buy the red or the blue tablecloth? Which I found really difficult. Or also, let's say, topics that are currently related to your present situation. Starting with, should I get up or stay in bed? So if you don't have much energy, then you always have to manage well. Manage your energy, and you're constantly faced with the decision, should I force myself now? Should I take a bit from my energy from my energy reserve on credit and say, I'll force myself now because it's so important to get up now? Or should I give in and stay in bed? Both extremes are not good either. The question is always, how do I find that golden middle path? And for that, you constantly have to make decisions. This includes, for example, that on the path to healing from depression, you constantly have to make decisions related to your comfort zone. So, within the comfort zone. So, within, not where it's comfortable, but where it's convenient in the sense that you don't have to change because you're following your habits. Within this comfort zone, you will not get healthy. That's how it is. The path to healing from depression is about change, and it's about leaving your comfort zone. These can be conflict situations, for example. Suppose you felt hurt in a conflict at work, or with a friend, or even in your partnership. You felt offended in some conflict, for example. And now you're faced with the decision of whether to go and address it openly, to finally stand up for yourself, even at the risk of it leading to even bigger conflicts. Or should I rather give in again, swallow my anger, and play it safe so that I continue to be liked? These are typical decisions that people with depression often face, because it's about developing more self-esteem by standing up for ourselves and our opinions, and setting our boundaries. It's also about making the uncomfortable decision to express this to others. And you always have to weigh it a little because normally, we all tend to choose the path of least resistance. And we prefer not to leave our comfort zone. But it has to happen if you want to get out of there. And that could also be such a decision. But now, we finally come to the 10 questions I want to ask you. Question number 1. What is this really about? This is a very important question to become aware. if we remember those 3 keys to healing. Awareness, gratitude, love. Awareness is the first, it is the most important first key. That means, let's stick with this situation, if you feel, let's say, offended or if you feel mistreated. And it's about the decision. Complain, leave, or swallow it. Then, become aware of what this is really about. This is about the fact that you have a huge opportunity for change and healing. So at first, you might think, pain. How can he insult me like that? How can he say something like that to me? And when you, no matter what happens, no matter what decision you're facing, what is this really about? This includes making it clear to yourself that it always involves 2 different levels. Everything that happens to you always occurs on 2 different levels, once on the external level, where it happens, what others say, and so on, and on the internal level. That's what happens inside you, what you feel, and that's the internal development process you're going through to heal, to come out of your depression. Yes, so make it clear to yourself, what is really my goal here? What is my most important, highest goal? If your most important, highest goal is to finally become confident, to finally be authentic, to be able to stand by yourself, to become healthy and happy, then that is a different goal. Then if your main goal is to primarily be safe and continue to be loved and to avoid conflicts. Let's say, I don't want to judge that at all. Both are okay, because it can, for example, also be the case that you are currently in such a deep crisis that you simply don't have the strength to go through conflicts right now, then it might be that this is not the right time for you, and that your priority at the moment must be to conserve your energy. You just have to be a little careful if a sabotage monster is sneaking up from behind and says yes, better to conserve energy, yes, so better not to step into the uncomfortable situation, out of the comfort zone. Yes, so it's about becoming aware. What is this really about? It means, make it clear to yourself. What is the most important thing for me right now? Do I want to get out of the depression? Yes, good. Then I take this path and stand by myself and go and say, I felt hurt there. And my dignity does not allow me to let it slide and let it happen to me. That can be a step on your path to healing. But you have to weigh whether you feel capable of doing it right now or not. So, then, point 2. Does it feel light or heavy? It's about not just deciding with your head, but also listening to your heart. So that you, for example, tune into your body. Basically, it's about, will this decision raise or lower your vibrational frequency? And you can find that out by tuning into your body. Let's say, when it comes to decisions like, should I move or stay here? Or which city should I move to? Should I emigrate to Australia or not? Or should I? Yes, so, when it comes to the bigger decisions, you could do an exercise like this. From NLP, an exercise with floor anchors. For example, you take 2 different pieces of paper. Or even 3, if you have 3 options, whatever the case, and write this option on the paper. So, this thing you might decide on. Place it on the floor, stand on it. Breathe, close your eyes, and feel inward. You can also tap a bit on your collarbone point or something like that. And just feel it in your body. Do you feel light or heavy? Does it pull you down heavily? Or does a lightness and joyful tingling come over you? This is a very important exercise so that you don't always decide just with your mind. Because with such big decisions, you should always do it in combination. Of course, you must also consider the rational arguments, but above all, you should decide based on your feelings. And the body can be very helpful in this. So, the right decision is when you feel a joyful tingling. If there's only fear, just fear and no joyful tingling, then that's not a good option. If there's a joyful tingling and fear, then that's your guide. Fortunately, that's the way to go. The joyful tingling must be there. And the fear, okay, you can overcome that. Prepare step by step, tap, and then bam, through the comfort zone. But please not without a joyful tingling, because then it's just following the mind. I have to get out of my comfort zone now. That's not a good decision. Okay, point 3 is naturally related to this. It's about the question of love, or fear. Head or heart, or let's say heart or ego. That's basically what it's about. So, for example, in conflicts. When it comes to staying nice, being friendly and nice to others at any cost. There are many depressed people who have this as a pattern, where they notice, on one hand, it feels good to always be nice. But it doesn't always do me good. That means with love or fear. Let's say, if you're always nice to others, then one might think you're doing it out of love, you're doing it out of love for others, but could it be that you're crossing your own boundaries? So ask yourself the question, love for myself or for others, as it is written in the Bible. Love your neighbor as yourself. That means love yourself first and then your neighbor. As harsh as that may sound and as much as you might think, oh no, that's not possible, then I'll become, I don't know what, an arrogant jerk or something, you won't. Don't worry. You have to put yourself first, because otherwise you'll destroy yourself. You became sick because you put yourself last. That's such a typical comfort zone thing. So, if you notice, I would make this decision now just to make others happy. First, see if it makes you happy too. If it makes you happy too, wonderful. There's nothing wrong with making decisions to make others happy. So don't misunderstand that. It's great. It's wonderful to help others and do everything to make sure others are well. But not against your own limits. So, self-love must come first. Because only when you are in your full strength, when you are in your self-love, only then are you able to be powerful. To do something for others. That's why you have to put yourself first. It's a matter of practice, we haven't learned it. We learned something like, the donkey names itself first. Or strange sayings like that, I can still remember. You can forget all of that. Put yourself first and then make your decision. Okay. Question number 5. What would I do if I weren't afraid and if I loved myself? This way, you can find out what you really want. If you just imagine that you didn't have your blockages. The blockage arises from a lack of self-love and primarily from fear. From a need for security, where security is more important to you than doing what makes your heart leap and sing. And through this question, can you find out what you really want? What really makes your heart leap? For example, quitting your disliked job to become self-employed with your beloved hobby. If you weren't afraid of all the logical arguments against it, what would you do? Would you do it? Yes or no? So just imagine that. You couldn't even think all those can't do it, can't do it, can't do it sentences. You couldn't think them. If you weren't afraid, would you do it or not? Especially with the big things, like moving to Hawaii, or doing something completely crazy, like a bungee jump or whatever. So if you work through and dissolve the fear that comes up, your true heart's desire will emerge. That's why ask yourself the question, what would I do if I weren't afraid? Then, engage with the idea of what would happen. If you make the wrong decision, that would be the question. 6. What would a wrong decision trigger in me? So if, for example, you're facing the decision, should I file for divorce or not? So, should I stay? Then ask yourself the question, what if it turns out that it was wrong to file for divorce? What kind of feelings does that trigger in you? It could be something like fear, loneliness, existential fears. Things like that. Or, ask yourself the question, what will happen if it turns out to be wrong that I stayed? What kind of feelings does that trigger, such a feeling of? Conflict. Being unhappy and free, feeling blocked, your life stagnating, whatever it is. Just look. What does that do to you and these feelings? When you resolve and dissolve them, then you can continue to see, yes, especially. This is the case with decisions where you have a feeling of being between a rock and a hard place. Many people feel like no matter how they decide, it's always terrible, always a lose-lose situation. You can turn it into a win-win situation by changing it internally, by dissolving these negative feelings that arise with the thought that it was the wrong decision. And then you can also ask yourself the question, what if it was the right decision? How would that feel? But we'll get to that in the next point. Question 7 is, how would a healthy, happy, and confident person decide now? It's about, if you want to develop into a healthy, happy, and confident person, then you need to start making decisions now as if that reality already exists. This is the game with the mental laws, like the law of attraction, for example. You will reap in your future what you sow now. That means if you want to feel later like a healthy, happy, confident person, then you need to act as if it is already so. And start now, make corresponding decisions. That's why ask yourself this question. Start behaving like the person you want to be in the future. So let's say with the simple, straightforward decisions. You're standing in the supermarket in front of the shelf and can't decide which type of jam. Let's stick with this simple example for now. Then ask yourself the question. Would a powerful, healthy, confident person stand in front of the shelf for 15 minutes thinking about strawberry or cherry jam? No. A powerful person would just decide, snap. These are the typical practice situations from everyday life, namely the decisions where nothing is at stake. Where it has zero impact on your future, whether you choose strawberry or cherry jam, or which clothes you buy or wear. That's where you can practice. Decide, snap. Just do it. Just do it. And you'll find it gives you such power, really. You truly regain power. When you stop standing in your own way and pushing decisions ahead of you, it's so exhausting. And it's also a decision. The decision to push a decision ahead is a decision you might have made many times before. And one that has always drained your energy, and that's why you can do it differently now when you ask yourself the question. How would my healthy, happy, powerful version of myself, the one I want to become, act? How would they decide now, and then behave exactly like that? And through this, you bring this reality into your life very slowly, step by step. It doesn't happen with the snap of a finger, but it's a path of practice. And for that, you always need a bit of awareness about what your goal is. Who do you want to be? Right. And then you can develop towards that. Okay, point 8. Who will I be in a year if I make this decision now? This, of course, applies to the bigger decisions, not to the jar of jam. So, where these comfort zone topics come in, for example, quitting your job to become self-employed or deciding to break up or stay. Or if I imagine staying in this job for another whole year, who will I be in a year? Yes, so do it. Ask yourself this main question. Who do I want to be? Who do I even want to be? And who will I become? You can just weigh it a little, anticipate it, feel it out. And maybe it will help you a bit to make this decision sooner, to stop creating the same unloved, unhappy life by making the same decisions over and over again as before. Becoming healthy and happy means starting to do things differently, making different decisions than before. So that you can create something different yourself, because then you will reap something different. Question number 9. What else is possible? You should ask yourself this question when you're faced with a plague or cholera decision, feeling like no matter how you do it, you're doing it wrong. There are only these two solutions. For example, how many hours should I work? Should I rather reduce my hours to rest a bit so that I don't burn out? But then I have the disadvantage of earning less money, and maybe I can't afford this or that anymore, and I might not make ends meet here and there. Or should I rather make the decision to quit this job entirely so that I am completely unemployed? Then I have the advantage of being able to rest, but the disadvantage of not earning anything at all, and so on. Yes, typical between a rock and a hard place situations, where whatever you do it wrong. Just ask yourself the question, what is still possible? That means become aware of whether it might be that you are stuck in a limited way of thinking. Yes, so is it possible that you are trapped in a mental prison, that due to all the stress with this decision, you have only seen these two options so far? And I can give you a tip from Access Consciousness is that you ask questions, ask open questions, instead of making statements or conclusions. So this typical phrase, yes, it doesn't work because, is a conclusion, it's a statement, and it closes doors. Open questions, on the other hand, open doors to new possibilities so that you can eventually see them again. And when you tap away your stress, it becomes even easier for you to see these other possibilities again and to leave the mental prison. That's why it doesn't work is such a sabotage monster thing, and instead, keep asking yourself, how can it be easy now? What else is possible? How can it be easy for new possibilities to come to me now? Or how can it be easy for me to just make a decision now? Something like that. Questions open up possibilities. And finally, question number 10. How would an infinite, divine soul decide now? It's about you leaving our small, limited 3D plane a bit and looking at it from the very top, from the highest level, and asking the question, who am I really? Who am I really? What is my reality? Beyond a reality I thought was my reality. An infinite, powerful, divine soul, an angel. Yes, if you imagine that this is what you truly are. Someone, a soul, that essentially holds all the knowledge of the universe within, who knows that this human life here on this planet is essentially just a game. It's a play that we stage for ourselves to have experiences here that we can't have out there, up there, where we come from. So, when you imagine that, then ask yourself the question with bigger things. If you're drawn to Australia, Hawaii, or anything else, ask yourself the question, would this infinite, powerful, divine soul stand there and think, it can't go on, I don't have any money? Or would it decide to have this experience? We are here to have experiences, and an infinite soul would trust that the right thing will come to you at the right time. And with the big decisions, where your mind keeps thinking, how is this supposed to work? How is this supposed to work? That's when you can switch to trust and say, it will somehow work out because I feel that I want this. And that's why I make this decision, and that's why I take this path, even if it doesn't work out immediately. I trust that it will somehow work out. So sometimes that can be very helpful. Of course, none of this is set in stone. It's simply it's my worldview, it's my idea. I believe in that. What all the spiritual people in this world say, that we are actually a radiant, divine soul. And sometimes, when I allow myself to, I can feel it too. Sometimes, I even feel like I am growing wings. I see it in my mind's eye and just know that it's true. And when you keep that in mind, it will be easier for you to make a decision, because you're looking at the situation from above, not from below. When you make decisions with your mind, with the control freak, you have the perspective of an ant walking through the grass with no chance of seeing how far it still is. Get on top of it, then. You'll see exactly how far the path still is. So, that's roughly what's behind it. Leave your ant position and take the bird's eye view. Maybe it will be easier for you then. Okay, my dear ones, that was quite a long video again with my 10 questions. Feel free to write in the comments if it helped you or which question you might still have questions about, or what you might have already applied for yourself that has helped you. Of course, there are many, many more points that could have been mentioned. Maybe you'd like to write it to me. You are welcome to share and like this video. And subscribe to my channel. And if you're interested in my online course, with a collection of tapping rounds where you have the opportunity to tap with me every day on all sorts of topics, then just check out www.seelenklopfun.de and onlinecours.seelenklopfun.de. There you'll find the online course. And I would be delighted. All the best. See you then. Goodbye.